everybody, it's Damien from Guitar Journey here, and as always, I hope that your personal guitar journey is going awesome. I really mean that. I just want to give you a quick bit today of, let's call it reassurance, from somebody, that somebody being me, who's been doing this for a long time. As of the filming of this video, 39 years. That's 39 years of playing, performing, recording, earning a university music degree, and of course, teaching. And I want to give you this perspective, okay? You may be at a point in your playing, whether you're a complete beginner or you're really a very experienced player, where you're feeling a really strong sense of frustration. And you may be asking yourself this question, gosh, does the frustration ever end? And in fact, I was asked that very question not so long ago by one of my more advanced students. I had presented this student with a piece that required him to navigate some fairly tricky chord changes and some fairly complex key and mode changes on the fly. And yeah, it was a frustrating experience for him. And in spite of his advanced skill level, he asked me, geez, does the frustration ever end? And I said to him, no, it doesn't. But the things that frustrate you will change over time. What frustrates you today is probably not going to frustrate you as much in 6 months. But so long as you're continuing to challenge yourself, there should be something new to frustrate you. Speaking for myself, like I said, I've been at this 39 years, and there are plenty of things in my own playing that frustrate me. Hopefully that doesn't just mean I'm a lousy player. I don't think it does, but it just means that I'm constantly trying to improve and add new skills. Heck, I wish I were a better slide player. And I'm a pretty good fingerstyle player, but I wish I were better. And so on and so on. There's always a new challenge to take on, but that necessarily means there's always something new to be frustrated about. So if you're feeling frustrated, how do you manage your emotions? How do you not let the frustration get out of control? I want to offer you a few tips, okay? And the first one is that it's really helpful if you have some means by which to measure your progress. And when you do that measurement, you have to learn to appreciate, to recognize, and to celebrate the small victories. So let's say you're a beginning level player, and maybe you're just practicing a simple pentatonic scale to a metronome, And let's say that you're able to play it fairly well, pretty accurately, just playing quarter notes, 80 beats per minute. Well, if with a couple of weeks of diligent practice, you're able to move that metronome up to 88 beats per minute, that's a measurable improvement. And it may not seem like much, but again, you really do need to learn to recognize and really appreciate, really enjoy the small victories. Now, just as an aside, by the way, if you're not using a metronome, I do think it's a good idea. But even if you're not, for whatever reason, you just don't feel ready to do it, whatever, that's fine. There are other ways to measure yourself, measure your progress, just depending on where you are. Maybe you just fret an F chord more comfortably and the sound rings out a little bit cleaner. Maybe you move between a G chord and a D chord more smoothly, whatever. The point is just to be aware of what you're doing and what challenges you're facing, and be aware of the subtle improvements that you're experiencing. And yeah, you gotta learn to really enjoy those subtle improvements. When you think about it, learning anything, whether it's a new language or a martial art like karate, whatever, or anything else, it rarely involves a big breakthrough, okay? Instead, it really generally involves smaller breakthroughs over time. Believe me, it's a rare day that you get this aha moment, this eureka moment. It's a rare day you get this huge breakthrough. Not saying it can't happen, it just doesn't happen very often. So you need to learn to recognize and enjoy small victories over time. Thing is, though, as musicians, and I find it to be the case especially with us guitar players, we look for that one big breakthrough, that one thing that's going to change our playing overnight, that one little secret, whether it's music theory or a different scale or whatever. Stop looking for it, folks. There are no shortcuts, okay? Yes, there is a direct path. But there are no shortcuts, and you do need to embrace these small victories over time. And one more quick example, think of it in the context of learning a new language. Would you really think that there's one single piece of information that's going to change your language ability dramatically? Nah, there's some things that can really help. Maybe you learn the sentence structure of the language you're trying to learn, and that helps you a little bit. Yeah, definitely. More often than not, it's going to be these small victories over time, and you really need to learn to enjoy them, treasure them. The second thing I want to recommend is that you actually learn to enjoy the struggle, literally enjoy the struggle itself. And I know that seems a little bit strange because, I mean, who wants to be frustrated? But I want you to consider this, okay? Maybe you've seen a movie called The Matrix, okay? And if you haven't, don't worry, it's a science fiction movie. And quick rundown is that the whole world is a computer simulation. And in the movie, because the whole world is a computer simulation, you can learn any skill by downloading it directly into your brain, okay? So, for example, in the movie, the main character is played by Keanu Reeves, and he decides to learn Kung Fu. And he just downloads it directly into your brain, and then you have Keanu Reeves going, I know Kung Fu. When you think about that, I mean, maybe it sounds really exciting. And there's a part of you that's maybe saying, yeah, if only it were that easy. I'm going to suggest to you that if it were that easy, it wouldn't be meaningful. And you wouldn't enjoy it, okay? If it were that easy, picking up an instrument and playing it would be no more rewarding than going over to your music player and simply pressing the play button. You might enjoy the sound, but there wouldn't be any deeper reward. There wouldn't be any emotional reward. So here's the point. I want you to think of the struggle, the frustration, as a necessary part of the overall artistic experience. I want you to embrace the idea that it's the struggle and the frustration that actually makes it emotionally, maybe even spiritually rewarding, as it is when you do make that progress. And you think about any kind of art, whether it's music or whether it's sculpture or anything like that. Art is basically human beings reaching for something that's just beyond their fingertips. And if everything were so easily in your grasp, you just downloaded it, it's just not going to be as meaningful. So you can sort of think of a recipe, that requires some kind of bitter herb or something in it. And the bitter herb all on its own is probably something you wouldn't really enjoy. But in the recipe, it's necessary. And if you were to remove that bitter herb from the recipe, then maybe the rest of the recipe is just kind of really sweet and syrupy and just not that good, not that enjoyable. The bitterness, the frustration is necessary to the overall enjoyment, okay? The whole thing's just meaningless if everything is easy. Remember the old cliche, if it were easy, everybody would do it. Yeah, the struggle is what makes it worthwhile. That you can play something, even if it's something fairly simple, and you can say, yeah, I did that. I'm playing that. I had to reach beyond myself in order to create that sound. That's what makes it meaningful. So when you're feeling that bitterness, that frustration, embrace it. It's an absolutely necessary ingredient, okay? And in fact, it's a necessary component of being an artist. And believe me, as an emerging guitarist, as an emerging musician, you are an artist, okay? Last bit of advice is so simple and so cliche that I'm almost embarrassed to be telling it to you here, but I'm going to anyways. And that's just to be patient. If you have a good, structured curriculum, you're measuring your progress, whether it's with a metronome or by some other means, you're continually challenging yourself with material that's appropriate to your level, then maybe you just need to be a little more patient and let your skills develop over time, okay? I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of hungry right now, but I'm thinking about all kinds of food analogies. So here's another one I want you to think about. You're baking a cake, and you've done everything right. You greased the pan. You measured all the ingredients perfectly. You blended them in a mixing bowl very carefully. What do you need to do now? The answer is you need to put the cake batter into the baking dish and then put the baking dish into the oven and let it cook for 35 minutes. And you know what? No matter how much you beat your head against the wall, no matter how frustrated you are, no matter how many shortcuts you might want to take, the fact of the matter is, all the ways that you're trying to progress extra quickly, all the shortcuts you're trying to find, the fact of the matter is that cake needs to be ovened for 35 minutes. Needs to be in the oven for 35 minutes at 375 degrees, and you just can't get around that. So if you're doing everything right, or trying to do everything right, following a structured curriculum, practicing consistently, working on level appropriate pieces and exercises, yeah, you just need to be patient and allow the process to unfold. And you know, this brings us back to my first point that you have to enjoy small victories over time. I have a wonderful student who's been with me for several years, and as of the time of the shooting of this video, he's 82 years old and he's still improving. He's still challenging himself, which, by the way, you're not too old to learn. Don't use that as an excuse. You are not too old to learn. Silas isn't, and you're not. So here's a saying that I want you to embrace, okay? Enjoy where you are on the way to where you're going. And that is true about learning music. It's true about learning anything. And it's true about life. Okay? So again, when you're feeling that frustration, there are 3 things you can do. 1, find some way of measuring your progress and be absolutely sure to enjoy those small victories over time. 2, embrace the frustration and recognize that it is the frustration that makes the whole process meaningful and enjoyable. And 3, if you're doing what you need to be doing, just be patient. Think about that cake in the oven. And like Silas says, enjoy where you are on the way to where you're going. All right, that's all I got today. I hope that helped, okay? As always, please hit the subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. And definitely leave me a comment. Remember, we're building a community here. We can all learn from each other and have a lot more fun on all of our journeys when we do so, okay? Take care.